I thought I was helping people, until I realized I was stealing their future. My name is Favor, and this is the story of how kindness became my disguise for something evil I didn't even know I was capable of. When I first arrived at the university, I was that girl everyone loved. The helpful one. The accommodating one. The one who never said no. I had a small space in the hostel, but somehow, I always made room for one more person. One more friend who needed a place to stay. One more girl who couldn't afford her own bed space. They called me generous. They called me selfless. But before I tell you what they didn't know about me, hit that subscribe button and join this community where we share real stories about real people. My mother died when I was 12 years old. Not from sickness. Not from an accident. She just wasted away. That's what the villagers said. She wasted away like something was eating her from the inside. After she died, my father took me to see Baba Akinola. Baba Akinola lived at the edge of our village, in a compound surrounded by red clay walls and ancient trees that never seemed to grow leaves. Everyone knew him. Everyone feared him. And everyone, at some point, needed him. Your daughter has a gift, Baba told my father that day, his eyes never leaving my face. She can attract favor from people. But gifts like this need to be fed. I was too young to understand what he meant. I was too afraid to ask questions. All I knew was that after that visit, things started changing. My father, who used to struggle to feed us, suddenly started getting contracts. Money began flowing into our home. People who used to ignore us started respecting our family name. And all I had to do was visit Baba once a month. At first, he asked for simple things. A piece of my clothing. A strand of my hair. Things that didn't seem to matter. But when I turned 16 and started seeing my monthly flow, everything changed. This is the most powerful offering, Baba told me, his voice low and ancient. When you get to school, you will help many girls. You will be known as the kind one. And whenever they see their flow, you will collect it for me. I remember staring at him, confused. But, why? He smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who knew too much. Because blood carries destiny. And destiny can be redirected. I should have run. I should have told my father. I should have refused. But I had seen what happened to families who defied Baba. I had seen their businesses collapse. Their children fall sick with mysterious illnesses. Their lives unravel like thread pulled from old cloth. So I agreed. And I hated myself for it. When I arrived at the university, I was terrified. Not of school. Not of being away from home. But of what I had to do. For the first few weeks, I kept to myself. I watched. I observed. I tried to convince myself that maybe I didn't have to do it. Maybe I could just be a normal student. But then my father called. Favor, I just lost my biggest contract. The money has stopped coming. You need to see Baba. You need to fulfill your part. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the hostel around me, girls laughing, music playing, life happening. And I made my decision. The next day, I started being friendly. Really friendly. Hey, do you need somewhere to stay? I have extra space, you can move in with me. Don't worry about paying me back. We are sisters, right? Within a month, 3 girls had moved into my room. Within 3 months, I had helped at least 15 girls find accommodation, either with me or close to me. They thought I was an angel. They had no idea I was counting down the days until their monthly cycle. The first time I did it, my hands were shaking so badly I almost got caught. It was 4:30 in the morning. The hostel was silent except for the sound of my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. I had noticed that one of my roommates, Tob, had seen her flow the day before. I had watched her wrap her used pad in black nylon and throw it in the dustbin near the bathroom. I waited until everyone was asleep. Then I crept out of bed, my phone's flashlight guiding me through the darkness. The dustbin smelled terrible. I held my breath as I rummaged through it, trying not to think about what I was doing, trying not to think about how wrong this was. When my fingers touched the black nylon, I felt physically sick. But I took it anyway. I took it, hid it in a separate bag I kept locked in my box, and returned to bed where I lay awake until morning, disgusted with myself. The next weekend, I went home. I gave Baba the pad. He didn't say thank you. He just took it, nodded, and told me to continue. 2 weeks later, my father called me, excited. He had gotten 3 new contracts. And that's how I learned to live with the guilt. After the first few times, it got easier. Not morally easier, that part never stopped eating at me. But technically easier. I developed a system. I kept mental notes of which girls were staying with me or near me. I observed their cycles. I noticed when they became moody, when they complained about cramps, when they made extra trips to the bathroom. I became an expert at reading the signs. And then, in the early hours of the morning, usually between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. when the hostel was deepest in sleep, I would make my rounds. I learned which dustbins belonged to which bathrooms. I learned how to open them silently. I learned how to distinguish between regular trash and what I was looking for. I became a ghost in my own hostel. The girls I helped never suspected anything. Why would they? I was Favor. Sweet Favor. Helpful Favor. The girl who made sure everyone had a place to stay, who shared her food, who lent money without asking when it would be returned. Tob used to tell me, Favor, you have the kindest heart I've ever seen. Ikin would say, I don't know what I would have done without you. You saved me. Another girl, Kayameka, once told me, you're going to have the best life. Good things happen to good people. Every compliment felt like a knife twisting in my chest. But I couldn't stop. My family was thriving. My father's business was booming. My younger siblings were in good schools. We had moved to a better house. We had a car. All because of me. All because of what I was doing. So I told myself it wasn't really hurting anyone. I told myself they didn't even know. I told myself that what people don't know can't hurt them. I was wrong. So terribly, horribly wrong. It happened on a Thursday morning. I remember because Thursdays were usually the safest days, most girls were exhausted from the week and slept heavily. It was 4:45 a.m. I had already collected from 2 dustbins and was heading to the 3rd when I heard a voice behind me. Favor. My entire body froze. I turned slowly, my heart hammering so hard I thought it would break through my ribs. It was Ngozi. A girl from the room next to mine. She was standing in the shadows near the bathroom entrance, her phone in her hand, its light pointing at the ground. What are you doing? She asked, her voice thick with sleep and confusion. I looked down at my hands. I was holding 2 black nylons. The evidence was right there, undeniable. My mind raced. Say something. Say anything. Oh. Ngozi, you scared me, I said, forcing a laugh that sounded fake even to my own ears. I was looking for something I threw away by mistake yesterday. You know, my pad. I think I might have wrapped my earring in it by accident. Even as I said it, I knew how ridiculous it sounded. Ngozi stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. You're looking for your pad. At this time. In different dustbins. I couldn't remember which one I used, I said quickly. You know how it is when you're half asleep. She stared at me for a long moment. Too long. Then she looked at my hands again, at the multiple black nylons I was holding. That's more than one, she said quietly. My throat went dry. I wasn't sure which one was mine. Favor, that's disgusting. Why would you? Please don't tell anyone, I blurted out. Please, Ngozi. It's embarrassing enough. I made a mistake, okay. I saw the conflict in her eyes. She wanted to press further. She wanted to understand. But it was also 4 a.m., and she was tired, and the explanation, as weak as it was something she could accept because the alternative was too bizarre to consider. This is really weird, Favor, she finally said. Really weird. I know. I'm sorry. I'll go back to bed. She watched me for another moment, then shook her head and walked back to her room. I stood there, trembling, the black nylon still in my hands. That was the moment I should have stopped. That was the moment I should have realized I couldn't keep doing this. But I didn't stop. I just became more careful. After that night with Ngozi, everything changed. I noticed people looking at me differently. Not openly suspicious, but aware. Like they were seeing me for the first time and weren't sure what they were seeing. Ngozi didn't tell the full story, I'm sure of that. But she told enough. Enough for whispers to start. Enough for girls to become more guarded around me. I would walk into a room and conversations would stop. I would offer to help someone, and they would politely decline. The warmth that used to surround me started to cool. I couldn't take it anymore. 2 weeks after the incident, I announced I was leaving the hostel. My uncle found me an apartment closer to town, I lied. It's a better deal, and I'll have more space. The girls I had been helping, Tob, Ikin, Kameka, and others, were devastated. But Favor, what about us? Tob asked, tears in her eyes. We can't afford other places. I'm sorry, I said, my voice hollow. I can't take you with me. The apartment is small. Just for me. It was cruel. After everything I had done, or maybe because of everything I had done, I couldn't bear to have them close anymore. I packed my things, rented a small apartment near a different university, and started over. New environment. New girls. Same operation. Because the truth was, I didn't know how to stop. My family depended on the money. Baba expected the offerings. And I had become so numb to the guilt that it felt like just another part of my routine. I was a monster in nice girl clothing. And I wore that disguise for 7 more years. Time passed. The girls I had helped moved on with their lives. We lost touch, as people do after school. I heard through social media that Tob had gotten married. Then Ikin. Then Kayamika. I saw their wedding photos and felt a strange emptiness. Not jealousy exactly. More like watching a life I could have had if I had made different choices. But I kept going. New city, new apartments, new girls who needed help. The cycle continued. Then, about 3 years after I last saw them, I received a message from an unknown number. Favor, this is Tob. I need to talk to you. Please call me. Something in the message made my stomach twist. I stared at my phone for 10 minutes before I finally called her back. Tob, I said when she answered. It's me, Favor, is everything okay? There was silence. Then I heard her breathing, shaky and uneven. Favor, can I ask you something? Of course. What's wrong? Another long pause. When we stayed with you in school, did anything happen that I should know about? My heart stopped. Actually stopped. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I've been married for 2 years, she said, and I could hear her starting to cry. 2 years, Favor. And I can't get pregnant. The doctor said there's nothing physically wrong with me. But I can't. I can't have a baby. I'm sorry, Tob. That must be. Ikin can't either, she interrupted. Neither can Kayameka. None of us can. Every girl who stayed with you, Favor. Every single one of us is having the same problem. The phone almost slipped from my hand. That's just a coincidence, I managed to say. Is it? Her voice was sharp now, cutting. Because I went to see a prophet. A powerful one. And do you know what he told me? He told me my destiny was stolen. My womb was tied. He told me someone I trusted, someone I lived with, someone I thought was my friend, was collecting my menstrual blood and giving it to a witch doctor. The words hung in the air between us like a curse. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I couldn't form words. It's not true, I finally whispered. Tob, that's crazy. Why would I? Don't lie to me, she screamed. Don't you dare lie to me. I've been praying. I've been fasting. I've been going from church to church, from prophet to prophet. They all say the same thing. Someone used my blood against me. And the only person who had access to it was you. I ended the call. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the phone. It couldn't be true. Baba had told me it was just for prosperity. Just for money and favor. He never said anything about stealing destinies. About tying wombs. About destroying futures. But deep down, in a place I had been ignoring for years, I knew. I had always known. You don't collect menstrual blood for innocent purposes. You don't sneak around at 4 a.m. doing good things. I had been telling myself lies because the truth was too heavy to carry. After Tob's call, my life began to fall apart. Ikin reached out next. Then Kayamika. Then girls whose names I had almost forgotten. All of them with the same story. All of them unable to have children. All of them told by prophets and spiritual leaders that their blood had been used against them. Some begged me to tell them it wasn't true. Some threatened me. Some just cried. I stopped answering my phone. I stopped going out. I locked myself in my apartment and waited for, I don't know what. Punishment. Forgiveness. Death. Then, one night, I decided to go home. To confront Baba. To make him undo whatever he had done. I packed a bag, left my apartment, and started the journey back to my village. I never made it. The road between the city and my village is long and winding. It cuts through forests and small towns, over bridges and past farms. I was driving too fast. I know that now. But I was desperate. Desperate to fix what I had broken. Desperate to save the women whose lives I had destroyed. It was raining. The road was slick. I don't remember much after that. There was a truck. A curve I took too fast. The sound of metal screaming. And then nothing. I didn't die in that accident. Not immediately. I was in the hospital for 3 days. Broken bones. Internal bleeding. The doctor said I was lucky to be alive. But luck is a strange word for what I was experiencing. On the 2nd day, my father came to visit me. He sat beside my bed, his face grey and aged, and told me something I wasn't prepared to hear. Baba Akinola is dead, he said quietly. I tried to sit up, but pain shot through my body. What? When? 2 days ago. The same day as your accident. They found him in his compound. All his charms destroyed. His shrine burned. They say 7 women came to confront him about what he had done to them. About their stolen destinies. My father looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I had never seen before. Disappointment. The women told the villagers everything, favor. Everything. About the blood collection. About the rituals. About you. Papa. Your name is everywhere now. People know. The girls you helped in school, the ones who can't have children, they are talking. They are telling everyone. He stood up slowly, like he had aged 100 years. I don't know if you'll survive this, he said. But if you do, don't come home. We can't. I can't. He didn't finish. He just walked out. And I was alone. I heard the rest of the story later, in pieces, from nurses who gossiped without knowing I was listening. After Tob and the other women discovered the truth, they joined together. 7 of them. The ones who had been closest to me. The ones I had hurt the most. They found out where Baba lived and went to confront him. They didn't go to hurt him physically. They went with a powerful prophet, a man of God who knew how to break curses and destroy evil altars. When they arrived at Baba's compound, they didn't even have to enter. The prophet prayed. Just prayed. Loud and commanding, calling on the name of God, breaking every chain, destroying every covenant, burning every curse. And as he prayed, Baba's compound began to shake. The witnesses said it was like an earthquake, but only in that one place. Baba's shrine crumbled. His charms exploded. His pots shattered. And Baba himself, they found him dead on the ground, his eyes open, his face frozen in terror. The prophet told the women that their destinies had been returned to them. That every curse was broken. That they would have children. But there was something else he said. Something about me. The one who was the instrument of your suffering, the prophet said, will not live to see the next season. I survived the accident. Physically. But something else was dying inside me. I was released from the hospital after 3 weeks. No one came to pick me up. No one called. My father had blocked my number. My siblings pretended I didn't exist. I returned to my apartment. The one I had rented near the new university, and found it empty. Not just of people. Empty of everything. Every piece of furniture. Every item of clothing. Even my certificates and documents. Someone had come while I was in the hospital and taken everything. I stood in that hollow room and finally, I cried. Not for my things. Not for my reputation, but for all the futures I had stolen. All the children who would never be born because of my greed. All the women who had trusted me and whom I had betrayed in the worst way possible. I cried for the person I could have been if I had said no. If I had refused Boba. If I had chosen poverty over evil. But it was too late for regrets. A month after I left the hospital, I heard the news. Tob was pregnant. Then Ikin. Then Kayamika. One by one, all the women I had hurt began to conceive. Their destinies, which had been stolen and locked away, had been returned to them. The prophet's prayers had worked. When I heard the news, I felt something strange. It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't anger. It was relief. Relief that even though I had done something irredeemable, it had been undone. Relief that my evil had not been the final word in their stories. I wished I could apologize to each of them. I wished I could tell them how sorry I was, how I had never fully understood what I was doing, how I had been trapped in something dark and hadn't known how to escape. But I knew they didn't want to hear from me. And I didn't deserve their forgiveness anyway. I'm telling you this story now because I need someone to know the truth. The whole truth. Not the whispered rumors. Not the half stories. But everything. My name is Favor, and I destroyed lives while pretending to save them. I was the nice girl, the helpful girl, the generous girl. And underneath that mask, I was participating in something evil because I was too afraid to say no. Because I wanted my family to prosper. Because I had convinced myself that what people didn't know couldn't hurt them. But it did hurt them. Deeply. In ways that almost couldn't be healed. If you're listening to this and you've ever been tempted to do something wrong for the right reasons, stop. Please stop. The cost is always higher than you think. The consequences always reach further than you imagine. And if you're listening to this and you've been hurt by someone you trusted, someone who smiled while stealing from you, I want you to know that evil doesn't always win. Destinies can be restored. Curses can be broken. There is redemption even when it seems impossible. Not for people like me, maybe. But for people like Tob and Ikin and Kayamika, for the innocent ones who suffered, there is still hope. 3 months after I heard about the pregnancies, I received one last message. It was from Tob. All it said was, I forgive you. Not because you deserve it, but because I refuse to carry hate alongside my miracle. I read that message 100 times. 1,000 times. And even though I knew I didn't deserve her forgiveness, it was the most grace anyone had ever shown me. 6 months later, I heard that all 7 women had given birth. Healthy babies. Healthy mothers. Complete healing. As for me, I'm still here. Still carrying the weight of what I did. Still trying to understand how someone can be so kind and so cruel at the same time. The prophet said I wouldn't live to see the next season, but here I am, living. Remembering. Maybe living with the memory is its own kind of death. Maybe that's my punishment, to survive and to remember, every single day, who I was and what I destroyed. If this story touched you in any way, if it reminded you of something in your own life or someone you know, I hope you take a moment to leave a comment below. Your story might be the one that saves someone else. And if you believe in second chances, in redemption, in the power of truth even when it's painful, please share this video. Not for me, but for anyone who might need to hear it. Sometimes the stories we're most ashamed to tell are the ones that need to be told the most. Subscribe to this channel if you want more true stories, stories about real people facing impossible choices, carrying impossible burdens, and searching for impossible redemption. Because we're all broken in some way. We are all carrying something heavy. And maybe, just maybe, telling the truth about our brokenness is the first step toward healing. Thank you for listening to my story. And if you're carrying a secret that's slowly destroying you, please find the courage to let it go before it's too late. Because the thing about secrets is this, they never just hurt us. They hurt everyone around us. Everyone we claim to love. Don't let that be your story too.